Hello, scaredy cats. Welcome back to Jump Scare, the weekly show where I bring you into the frightening world of horror. I'm your host, Miss Peregrine. Just kidding, it's Cierra Caballero. Last time, I taught you how to get into horror, and this time, I'm going to tell you how I got into horror and a few childhood introduction recommendations. Of course, as a kid, I called scary movies Mimi movies. So before I start, I should preface that every child is different and some may not be ready for scary elements. Not every kid is going to ask to watch Evil Dead for family movie night. Keep that in mind. When I was young, my first horror film that I remember watching was The Fly, not the Vincent Price Fly, the David Cronenberg The Fly. You know, with body horror, mutilation, Jeff Goldblum, and science gone wrong. I was both fascinated and grossed out. But that began my obsession with David Cronenberg as one of my favorite directors. So who introduced me to The Fly? Well, it was my grandpa. So my grandpa also loved Tales from the Crypt, which we would watch regularly. It's sort of blurry in my mind, but I do remember watching it. I also saw Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds, which made me very distrustful of birds, even though I had a pet cockatiel. Rest in peace, Bert. As far as cartoons, I usually watched Cartoon Network, which meant a lot of Courage the Cowardly Dog. I won't lie, if you've seen Courage, you know how terrifying of a show it really was. Remember the face that said he was the spirit of the harvest moon? And many remember King Ramses and also Quentin Tarantella. Yes, that's a play on of Quentin Tarantino, and it was basically an episode about serial killers. Scary stuff. Every year, my family would watch Army of Darkness, Evil Dead 2 together, which I really think helped with my dark sense of humor and sarcasm. Now, I wasn't always a super brave kid. I was terrified of the Saw films, which ironically is a franchise that got me more into horror. I got so obsessed that my mom was like, why are we ending up with a new Saw film every single time we go to the store? Because they're awesome, Mom. That's why. Well, besides the R-rated insanity that I was exposed to, I believe Disney Channel had a pretty awesome assortment of Halloween entertainment at the time. You remember Halloween Town, Under Wraps, Don't Look Under the Bed, So Weird, and Scream Team. And of course, everyone talks about Hocus Pocus, which made a huge influence on me. I love that film. Before all of that, I loved Halloween books. I was obsessed with a very scary haunted house by Joanne Barkin. It glows in the dark, guys. All you have to do is put it under the light for a few minutes, and it's so cute, by the way. I would ask my mom to read it to me every night. I also loved The Big Pumpkin by Erica Silverman. It's very cute. It's about these little monsters that want to make pumpkin pie, but the pumpkin's too big. And Alice and Greta by Stephen J. Simmons, but I couldn't find my copy, so sorry guys. Others were Roald Dahl books, David Shannon's Bad Case of the Stripes. It may not be horror, but her transformation alone was pretty terrifying for a kid's book. I believe that dark fantasy is a good entry into horror, even classic goth literature such as Frankenstein and Castle of Otranto. She literally becomes the room. It's terrifying. She could probably eat that old lady alone. David Shannon. A lot of the Disney Channel films I mentioned before, like Hocus Pocus, are good entries. Also, many of Tim Burton and Henry Selick films, like Nightmare Before Christmas or Paranorman, are amazing films. The Haunted Mansion, and also The Witches, which is a terrifying film. The makeup and practical effects, they were some ugly witches. That film freaked me out, but it also fascinated me. And the book's Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I would recommend the original Stephen Gammell art, but those are a bit harder to come by ever since the new editions came out. As far as more mature films, I would start with films like Ghostbusters, The Frighteners, maybe The Mummy, The Others. That one's pretty intense, but not too bad. The Monster Squad is really good. You can also do classic horror films like Creature from the Black Lagoon, Bride of Frankenstein, and even the original House of Wax. A lot of things with Vincent Price are pretty good, except for the rated R ones like Theater of Blood. Maybe stay away from that one for a while. Yes, I would also recommend Army of Darkness and The Blob. Yes, they're a little bit more mature, but they're also really funny. Movie of the week is Crimson Peak, directed by Guillermo del Toro. The film returns to the classic Gothic tale and the beautiful horror style that del Toro is known for. I hope you enjoyed my recommendations. Let me know in the comments below what your favorite horror films and books were as a kid, and what was your first horror film as a kid? If you want more recommendations, don't be afraid to ask me for more in the comments below. Have a wonderful week, scaredy cats.